Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Legend here, and today I'm going to talk to you all about Halloweekends at Cedar Point, which is their big haunted house event, daytime family-friendly Halloween event. And it's actually, I haven't been in a number of years. This is my first time going to Halloweekends at Cedar Point in probably about 15 years. I had a really great time. Now, this is an event that is included with a lot of your annual passes. It's not an upcharge like, say, Universal's Halloween Horror Nights or Busch Gardens Hollow Scream. So it's just an added value to people with an annual pass or buying a day ticket. And I thought it was a really strong event. Let's begin our talk about Halloweekends 2022 by talking about the main star of any Halloween event, and that is, of course, the haunted houses. At Cedar Point, there are 5 haunted houses this year. The first one I want to talk about is the Haunting of Eerie Estate. Now, this is one of 2 new haunted houses at Cedar Point. Now, I will let you know, none of these haunted houses, they don't have a map for Halloweekends, so you have to go on their website and sort of find out where all the haunted houses are, and then just sort of show up. Also, one thing, the haunted houses have different opening times on different days. I was there on a Thursday and a Friday, and the haunted houses only ran from 8 p.m. till midnight each day. Other days, they run different hours. Anyway, back into the Haunting of Eerie Estate. Now, this is located over by Planet Snoopy and Melt, and it is kind of like a paranormal investigators at a haunted house. Now, this haunted house does feature a pre-show with a Ouija board, where they are trying to talk to George Beckling, who was like an old Cedar Point park president, credited with really expanding the theme park quite a bit. And one thing with this, having that pre-show element's cool, but also it really cripples this haunted house's capacity, as this one did have by far the longest line out of any haunted house I saw during the entire event. The haunted house, actually, it is rather frightening too as well. There's lots of strobe lights, lots of bright lights in your face, which means you really can't see what's in front of you, making you a really easy victim for these scare actors to pop out. Now, Cedar Point, they do pulse these houses, so sometimes you'll just go in with, if there's not a long line, they'll go in with just your group. Sometimes you go in a group about 5 to 8 or so it doesn't make it more scary than a haunted house event where you go through it in a conga line style. Now, the Haunting of Eerie Estate, they did have lots of actors, and some of them looked like they were wearing Bray Wyatt's Fiend mask, which, as a big fan of WWE, yeah, that was pretty cool. Also, this haunted house has some really neat projection effects. The next haunted house is Hexed Black Magic. Now, this is located right by the Gatekeeper roller coaster, and it is kind of a witch's haunted house. Now, this one, it's not as scary as some of the other ones. It's more thematic, more environmental. So if you're going with somebody who's very jumpy and afraid of haunted houses, but they want to give it a try, I would say start with Hexed. Now, there are some great spots with some really big scenes where you got a character on stilts in a giant dress, one where a dude looks like he is just a disembodied head. And something interesting this haunted house uses, they use face paint and body paint on their actors, and it's all like blacklight paint, and that's something I really haven't seen in a haunted house before. Unfortunately, this haunted house did have a lot of room without any actors in it. I don't know if they're still trying to cast for Halloweekends or just a lot of people didn't show up on night one, but I felt like a lot of holes in this haunted house. Also, it's home to a lot of automatic knocking and shaking kind of boxes and things like that. Overall, it was a cool house, but not very scary. Slaughterhouse is located on the Frontier Trail, right by the barnyard where they'll have all the animals and stuff like that. And some of the animals don't go inside. Like, as you're coming out of the house, you might get a glimpse of a camel. Now, Slaughterhouse, it's a very standard theme park haunt. It's one if you've been to a theme park haunt before, chances are you saw a haunted house like this. The first half, you're in a slaughterhouse, which is, in itself, it's just very unpleasant imagery of, animals being chopped up and things like that. And then the second of the half, shocker, surprise, they're slaughtering people. Now, the actors in this house, they were very good. They were very in character. They were all enjoying their roles. The house has a big, giant, classic haunted house element, the inflatable, more or less, birth canal kind of thing that invokes claustrophobia, and they had a pretty long one at that. There was a cool scene when you were in a freezer, and I was on there on a Thursday night. The park was not overly crowded, and somehow in this haunted house, I got lost and ended up going the wrong way, so just be careful with that. Overall, it was okay. It was a solid house, nothing amazing. Located right next to the Wave Swinger in Frontier Town, right by Maverick as well, is the Fearground Freakshow. And I like this one a lot. This was a really neat haunted house. It is kind of like a mashup house. It was one part messed up Ripley's Believe It or Not, one part circus house, and one part clowns. They had a live carnival barker on the outside who would interact with guests as they're going in. I thought that was really cool. When we went through, it was very slow in that night. It was like 11 p.m., for a midnight close. So it was slow. It was only Molly and I. And the scare actors in this haunted house, they have a lot of freedom. Like, one guy just followed Molly around for a while. They do have some great, wacky, messed up props. There's a scene where you walk past the backside of an elephant. There's a big, Jack-in-the-Box clown animatronic. And there's even a Laugh and Sal. So this one, a pretty good balance of fun and scary. Also, I like having any haunted house that gives me a little bit of this and a little bit of that instead of the same thing for 5 minutes, I really like. So Fearground Freak Show, one of my favorites at the event. Now, from one of my favorites at the event, we have to go to what was definitely my least favorite haunted house at the event, and this is Bloodbath. It is located by Steel Vengeance, and this is a new haunted house for this year, and I was really disappointed in this one. It's a vampire nightclub, but the house just felt very cheap and lazy. A lot of black walls, no cool rooms. They did have a couple of good distraction scares where you're looking at one live actor and someone else jumps out, so that got me a couple times. But this one was kind of a miss for me. It just felt like if you and your buddies were tasked with building a vampire nightclub haunted house in a pole barn with not a lot of budget, that's what you would end up with. And that'll do it for haunted houses. Let's move on to the scare zones. There are 6 different scare zones at Halloweekends, and they're all located in the back of the park. Now, Cedar Point does this, I'm pretty sure, on purpose, so that way they have all the scary stuff located either in Frontier Town or the Frontier Trail. That way, if you have little kids that are going to the event just so they could ride, Blue Streak and the kids' rides, that they're not getting hounded by scare actors. Now, there's 6 scare zones, but there's 3 that are very similar and 3 other ones that are very similar. The first 3 that are similar are just kind of like midways with fog and a little bit of props and actors walking around. And that is Banished, which is, well, I couldn't tell you what the theme of Banished was. It was just darkness and lights on the Frontier Trail. Made it kind of scary, but also it kind of just felt like you were continually going to walk into somebody, and it was more awkward than frightening. There was also the Tombstone terror-tory, which was located in Frontier Town, sort of by Maverick and Steel Vengeance, and that was just, kind of like ghostly cowboys walking around. And then my favorite out of the free roaming scare zones was definitely Harvest Fear, which was kind of like an evil county fair, and they had some cool booths and stuff like that, and some gags and like fake horrific midway games. So that one out of the free roaming ones was pretty good. Now the other 3 are more like dedicated one-way paths, and the star of these is definitely Cornstalkers 2.0 Revenge of the Pumpkinheads, which is located in the park's River Rapids ride. And they take the River Rapids ride, they drain it, and they put like what feels like almost a mile worth of corn in this thing. It's very claustrophobic. There's lots of lights in your face. It goes on forever. And I thought, was the scariest thing in all of Halloweekends. That one, if you're going with somebody that doesn't like to be scared, stay away from that one. If you're going with somebody that wants to be scared, don't miss it. Next up is Blood on the Bayou, which is located on the Forbidden Frontier on Adventure Island. And man, this is really an expedition to get out to this haunted house. Between the time when you walk there and when you walk back, and then when you've walked around the actual scare zone, it feels like you probably walked a full mile, as you have to get over to the island, get off the island, and then walk around the entire island. And this one kind of has a New Orleans voodoo-y theme. It's pretty good. Just the one thing I remember about it is just the trek to get there and the trek to get back. A lot of voodoo stuff, some kind of Rougarou stuff, but pretty good. It's a little bit on the scary side. And the last one was Cutthroat Cove. This one, I'll be honest, on night 1, I didn't even know this existed. I saw it on the website. I had no idea where it was because the entrance is really kind of hard to find. It is in between the entrance to the train and the entrance to Maverick, and it is a pathway that takes you all underneath the Maverick roller coaster. And it does have a pirate theme. It's another one-way path, lots of fog, lots of lights, and lots of pirates. Some of the pirates are kind of scary pirates. Some of the pirates, they're just going to have fun with you and talk about rum. So that one got a thumbs up for me. In this next section of the video, I'm going to talk about some of the entertainment that is offered at Cedar Point's Halloweekends. And I'm going to start at the main stage area. Now, this is located right by Iron Dragon. It's kind of the hub of all entertainment for Halloweekends. Now, starting every night, something I would say try not to miss. This is at 7 o'clock. They have the opening ceremonies where they bring out the Midnight Syndicate band and a whole bunch of characters, and then a whole bunch of the scare actors run around the crowd. Really great way to get you into that Halloween spirit, get you into the mood for a haunt event. Also, this stage was just awesome. They have the main stage where it's pretty much up all year round, and then they have 2 stages they made out of shipping containers that are on either side of it. And throughout the course of the night, every 20 minutes, there'll be a different act on a different stage. So no matter what time you go to this area of the park, there's always something happening. There's a band that plays there. There's a really great percussion act. I enjoyed this quite a bit. Kind of like a Stomp-inspired thing. They're on top of one of the shipping containers. They sounded great. Really fun show. And then the main stage, they do a giant singing and dancing show with some really great costumes and fog and lasers and fire. So yeah, this area is definitely one, especially if the park is crowded. You could go over there, hang out, have a drink or a snack, and watch some really solid entertainment. I think my favorite show at Cedar Point's Halloweekends is Wake the Dead, a murder musical mystery. And this is located in my favorite entertainment venue at Cedar Point, and that is the Palace Theater over there, backed by Steel Vengeance. And this is fun. It's it's another singing and dancing show, but it's really kind of weird. There's kind of a whodunit murder mystery, and they sing. It's fun. Don't miss this. Also, the Palace is kind of a small theater, so this one might fill up a little on the early side. In the other saloon, the Red Garter Saloon is home to the Fantastics, which is really, it's just an 80s cover band dressed up as, Halloween people. Solid music, felt very much like a cruise ship band. Cool place to go in, sit down, relax, have a drink, and take a break for a bit. A show that's probably very popular with some people, but wasn't so hot with me, is the Midnight Hour, 25 years of Halloweekends with Midnight Syndicate. Midnight Syndicate is a band that does haunted house style music and haunted theme park music. They've been working at Cedar Point for like 25 years doing their music. They did a lot of stuff for Universal's Halloween Horror Nights, and they kind of just put on a concert. And to me, it's just kind of like two guys and keyboards. Wasn't the most interesting thing. I think if you're a fan of their music, you'd probably love this. During the different songs, some stuff would happen, like they'll play a song about vampires, and a vampire later just kind of come out and walk around, or a clown song, and a clown guy would come out and walk around. I think if this was more of like a Cirque du Soleil kind of thing, where like the Midnight Syndicate guys would play, and then, a juggler would come out, or a magician would come out, or an acrobat would come out, I think that would be a much, much stronger show. This one left me a little bored. There is a show I did not get to see that was a retelling of the Telltale Heart in the Glass Blowing Theater, so that's pretty cool. Also, if you're visiting the park on a Thursday, there'll be some special attractions that are only available on Thursday, like Scarioke by the Farmhouse Kitchen, and the Witches Sisters Insult Emporium, which is very interesting. The three witches just hang out on the balcony of the main arcade on the main midway, and they just insult guests walking by. It was pretty fun to sit there and watch this. Although I don't know how popular it would be, because I don't think anyone goes to a theme park to be insulted. So hopefully this sticks around, but I can definitely see it. They insulting the wrong person, and this is definitely going away. But I had a good time. There were a couple of kind of what I would call bonus attractions at Halloweekends. Right by the Red Garter Saloon in Millennium Forest, they had fortune tellers, where you could just, and this was cool because this was completely free, and you just go in there and get your fortune read. They had a bunch of different tents and a bunch of different fortune tellers, so that was pretty fun. We had a good time doing that. And also right by that area too, for 10 bones, you could get your picture with your whole group in a coffin. Weird, but neat and very Halloweekends-y. Now, we've been talking a lot about the adult stuff to do at Halloweekends. Well, there's actually a lot to do for little kids as well, including on the Frontier Trail during the day. The Witches Sisters put on a whole bunch of different shows. On that main stage during this day, there's an adorable show featuring Charlie Brown and Snoopy, and they've got a really fun singing and dancing team and costumes, and that was actually a pretty good laugh. I actually enjoyed that quite a bit. Now, around the park, there's actually another different family-friendly show, something about a costume contest council, another kind of more or less entertainment for the little ones. Now, but there's a lot of stuff to do for the little ones. Like there's like a whole bunch of like hay and corn mazes set up throughout the park. One of the highlights actually for the families is the Magic House on Boo Hill, which is something I think every theme park should do. It is a haunted house, but a haunted house with no scares, just some lightly spooky theming as you would wander around. So that way, the kids see all the haunted houses and stuff like that. They want to do them. They can't because they'll be terrified, but they do get to go to an indoor themed experience like this. I think this is great. And honestly, this seems like something like every theme park Halloween event should have. And yeah, big thumbs up to that. Even if you're an adult, just a cool place to walk around and take pictures. You got to make money off the kids, so there's a whole bunch of midway games for the children where they can win all sorts of different like Halloween type prizes. And then there's also trick-or-treating in Kitty Kingdom, a Halloween tradition. I do like how the trick-or-treating stations, they're all themed in the Kitty Kingdom area. There's all sorts of different stuff. There's also spooky I Spy, more corn mazes. I was really impressed with the amount of stuff Cedar Point offered for the little ones at the event, and everything. Like this, there was a corn box. Like I thought it was a sandbox when I walked by. No, it's just kernels of corn. That was weird. There's little tractors on kind of a little tractor course the kids can play in. And yeah, I think if you're going to Cedar Point for like Halloween stuff for the little ones, you wouldn't be disappointed either. Of course, it wouldn't be a theme park event without them trying to sell you food and beverage stuff. All throughout the park, just about every single food stand, they would have specialty food items on the sign out front. And then they actually had a really good selection of specialty beverages as well. They had things like 4 different kind of like blood bag drinks. They would have one that came with a big giant syringe on it. And then I'm a big fan of craft beer and craft ciders, and they had a really good selection of craft beer all around the park, including like some of my favorite stuff, like Southern Tier's Pumpkin. I had a Nosferatu Imperial Red IPA at one point. Really good, solid beer selection all around the park for your fall seasonal favorites. Now, one thing Cedar Point does very well is merchandise, and if you want Halloweekends merchandise, definitely visit Mr. Midnight's Fear Emporium, which is the Top Thrill Dragster gift shop, which they rethemed. Obviously, Top Thrill Dragster's closed. They are doing construction work on it right now, and it's the most themed gift shop. They also have some of the coolest merchandise in this gift shop. This one definitely felt like Cedar Point trying to do a Halloween Horror Nights tribute store just without any of the budget. But still a cool place you definitely want to go in and check out. Some things I liked about this, they did have t-shirts for every single one of the haunted houses, which I thought was very cool. All the t-shirts have a pretty neat art style on it, and I really like this one for the Fearground Freak Show. Like, that's a solid t-shirt. But that's my favorite, that Halloweekends one where all the monsters are riding Millennium Force. That is a good t-shirt. They actually, on the day I was there, they sold out of my size, so I didn't get to buy my $35 Cedar Point t-shirt, which in the long run, not the worst thing. Midnight Syndicate, right by their show, they've got a booth selling, music and merchandise for their stuff. So if you're a big fan of their stuff, you could get plenty of that. Turvis tumblers are cool. Did like how they sold that. In the glass blowing area, they do have a whole bunch of pumpkins that you could buy for the fall season that are obviously made right there in the theater during the shows. And a whole bunch more merchandise as well. Everything from signs to coffee mugs, all sorts of things. I like this guy, the plushy cauldron. Obviously not Cedar Point specific, but evil kind of plushy dolls for the Halloween season. Kind of fun, including a man-eating plant. And that'll kind of do it for my time at Cedar Point's Halloweekends. I'll show you more of the merchandise as I wrap things up. I had a lot of fun at this event. I will say, I went on a Thursday and a Friday. Cedar Point during Halloweekends, it's some of the busiest days of the year if you go on a Saturday. So if at all possible, if you're planning this, go on a Thursday, man. I had so much fun on that Thursday night. Pretty much the rides, most of them run, not everything runs, but just about all of them do run. And I walked onto Steel Vengeance 3 times in a night. Pretty much every haunted house but the Haunting of Eerie Strait, I walked onto that on that Thursday night. So if at all possible, try to get there on a Thursday. And overall, I had a really good time at Cedar Point's Haunt. I think it provides a great value. I will say that crowd thing is kind of it does get very crowded. They do sell a front of the line pass for the rides and a separate front of the line pass for the haunted houses, which is something, if you're going to be stuck going on one of those Saturdays, you might want to look into buying. If you have any questions about Halloweekends, let me know in the comments section below, and thank you very much for watching this video.
stood and stared. He must not have cared. So I bit off his head. I think he might be dead. Ha!
Viva